Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I warmly welcome you all to the second day of International Research Conference of General Sir John Kotalanga Defence University. We are set to begin the third technical session of Defence and Strategic Studies on the theme of Civil-Military Relations. We shall begin the session now, and to introduce the chairperson, I would like to invite Brigadier R.G.U. Rajapaksha, the Dean, Faculty of Graduate Studies.
Distinguished invitees, students of General Sir John Kotalanga Defence University, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I welcome you all back to the Defence and Strategic Studies Technical Session 3 of the KDU International Research Conference 2018, in which presenters will deliver their papers on the sub-theme Civil-Military Relations, It is my pleasure to introduce the chairperson of the session, Vice Marshal Dr. Tatan Kustana, Vice Rector 3, Cooperation and Interagency Relations, Indonesia Defence University, Indonesia, those bodies. Vice Marshal Dr. Kustana is now the Vice Rector 3 for Interinstitutional Cooperation, Indonesian Defence University. Vice Marshal Kustana was born in Bandung, West Java on 10th March 1961. He graduated from the Air Force Academy in 1984 and he reached the rank of Air Vice Marshal in year 2018. He is having a doctorate degree on Human Resource Management from Jakarta National University and Master of Business at RMIT University, Melbourne, Australia, and also Master of Arts at Daikin University, Melbourne, Australia. He has held many appointments during his career, such as Logistics Officer, Commander of Aircraft Maintenance, Staff of Planning and Budgeting, Secretary of Staff and Command College, Assistant of Logistics for National Air Defence Command, and Vice Dean of Defence Management Faculty, IDU. Vice Marshal Kustana has been actively involved in research and development dealing with military and defence affairs. For his dedication to the Air Force, Indonesian Armed Forces and Ministry of Defence, he had been awarded with 9 medals for his career from the government of Indonesia. Vice Marshal Kustana is married to Erlina and blessed with 2 children. While thanking him being here with us today, accepting our invitation, I now cordially invite Vice Marshal Dr. Tatan Kustana to the stage and chair the Defence and Strategic Studies Technical Session 3. Meantime, I would like to call upon our eminent guest speakers in this session, Major E.M.M.D. Bandar, Major A.A.B.B. Abeyodhana, Major S. Thapa, Major P.K. Waruwang Godagi. Vice Marshal Dr. Tatan Kustana will also introduce the presenters of this session to the audience. So, over to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now it's time to do the third session. We will discuss interim civil-military relation. I think in the past 15 years until now, civil-military relation has been a hot topic to be discussed. Why is it so interesting? In my opinion, especially in national context, relation between military and civilian is not perfect. And has some power. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, and up and down. I think there's such a spacious thing between each other, and the base is like never end. And each other trying to be more superior than that. So in this session, hopefully, we can discuss and solve that problem. And also I do believe, because I'm accompanied by 4 young bright officers here, and then we'll present about how to see the civil military relation. Okay, without any further explanation, I would like to give time to the first presenter to present the presentation. Let me introduce him via the CV. First presenter is I apologize, my pronunciation is not quite good. First presenter, yes, Major M.D. Bandra, right? Major Bandara is attached to the Sri Lanka Army General Service Corps. He was commissioned in 2006 and has more than 10 years of military service, serving various parts of the country. He holds a BSc in military science from University of Sabaragama, Goa, Sri Lanka. For Major Bhattara, you please present your question. Thank you.
Catherine, lady and gentlemen, good afternoon. In this few minutes, I am going to discuss about my research on the topic of effect of leadership style, how soldiers know intention in Sri Lankan army. Sri Lankan military forces are moved into the peacetime formation after more than 3 decades long conflict in the country. War specialists identify the military members as strong human resources of the world because they can use for the various non-military activities than other human resources, especially emergency situation, post-war conflict recovery process and country development. The success of present activities carried out by the army highly depend on the quality of leaders and behavior of the soldiers in the army. It is important to understand how it is related to the effectiveness of leadership and job satisfaction of Sri Lankan army. Skilled soldiers cannot be replaced or created easily. To get the optimal result from the soldiers, they should be developed up to the desired level. Otherwise, unskilled, semi-skilled workforces create low performance in our military culture. Military personnel must follow their own method to maintain their military actions. My problem statement was at the present Sri Lankan army needs to play the different role in the civil affairs or national development process while retaining our primary role. Leaders are known to practice the different leadership style to accomplish the mission. Thus the challenges Sri Lankan army leadership is to ensure that leadership practice in the organization are accordance with the performance to achieve the intended goals which are given by the government. This has become difficult to use full potential of soldiers. The level of interaction and the relationship between leaders and subordinates can probably bound to the productivity, commitment, satisfaction and effectiveness. If the leadership style does not agree with the present requirement in the army, it may affect the dissatisfaction of soldiers, discomfort and frustration of subordinates. Moreover, it may affect the low morale and high rate of turnover in Sri Lankan army. My objective of research, the overall objective of my research find which outcome to take the leadership and soldiers' tone of intention in post-war context. Though this effectively identify the specific areas to be needed to develop in the leadership and how we can reduce the tone of intention of soldiers. But it is focused to identify the nature of the leadership styles. Under that, following objectives I have been finalized. Depth of job satisfaction and effectiveness of military leadership, effectiveness of leadership styles presently practiced in Sri Lankan army, the leadership between soldiers turnover in Sri Lankan army. For my research, I have selected 50 participants from covering all arms, the people who have already left the military. Data was collected through the questionnaires and selected samples as shown on the screen. My sample consists of 50 soldiers from several regiments who are willing to participate in the study. Gentlemen, when selecting the sample, the following criteria I have been selected. Because for the fair analysis of the problem, respondents are selected since it is cover the all arms. Research success depends on the reliability of samples. Therefore, sample accuracy is played vital role. In such situation, when selecting the sample, it should be very accurate since I have selected 50 samples for this research. In addition to, I have to pay more attention to the operation framework and evaluation of data because it will provide good sounds facilities to understand the logical manner how leadership effect to the soldiers down intention of Sri Lankan Army. During my research, out of several leadership styles, I have selected only 2 leadership styles. First one is transactional leadership. Under that, I have focused on chain of command, motivation, monitoring of subordinate. Under transformational leadership, setting clear goals and example by leaders, clear communication and vision, encouraging, supporting, recognizing and good works. Data analysis. After getting the answers from the questionnaire, I have transformed my older answer to numerical evidence by using the Likert scale. View donated by the numerical values within the range of 1 to 5. The percentage which is compared measured was used to indicate nature of views. As per the table, 30% of respondents have indicated that relevant factors was strongly agreed. Disagreed was 40% and responded were 10% have indicated that no idea. Another 15% responded were given the agreed and 5% was strongly agreed. In addition to the arithmetic means of standard deviation has been calculated for each factor. Larger than the standard deviation value, lower the influence. Therefore, relevant factors become insignificant. On the other hand, smaller standard deviation value larger than this influence that is shown on the screen. During my research, I have found following important facts. 70% of soldiers have indicated that leaders have correctly identified the professional skills and abilities of soldiers. 74% of soldiers have indicated that they have punishment due to the negligence of duties. 82% of soldiers have indicated that leaders take the responsibility for every action when they take under command. 68% of soldiers have indicated that the leaders believe in rules, regulation and punishment would be encouraged to gain the successful and efficient duties from soldiers. 74% of soldiers have indicated that leaders believe showing of friendliness towards them would make duty effectively. 72% of soldiers have indicated that leaders are performing their duties with highly cooperative nature with soldiers. 64% of soldiers have indicated that leadership performs their duties in terms of example to soldiers. Finally, 72% of soldiers have indicated that leaders following pre-planned work procedure for performing duties. 70% of soldiers indicated that leaders concerned on the completion of the task given quickly. 80% of soldiers have indicated that leaders always make their decision without concerning of the soldiers. 74% of soldiers have indicated that leaders facilitate all provision to perform the task expected level. With that, I have find the following recommendation for the leadership. Training military leaders could be utilized to develop the nation with the government institutions. Share knowledge with the sister services for the betterment of the forces in the future. The Army needs to specially design courses to teach the post-conflict leadership. Finally, officers should be trained and advised to find the leadership style to suit the situation in order to reduce the employee turnover. Finally, leadership is a dynamic process that deserves studies. Leadership is a quality and skills, which it is both admire leaders to military and society. Therefore, my purpose of this study was to examine the relationship between military leadership and soldiers' turnover. Since this is vast subject, I have attempted to find out relationship between two leadership styles which affect to the turnover intention of soldiers. I found that majority of other ranks believe in military leaders follow the different level of leadership style which will be enhance the performance in present context. previous studies concluded that leadership styles can affect the followers' intention to believe in the organization. This notation is not supported in my studies. My studies concluded that leadership styles have no significant effect. The soldiers turn our intention in Sri Lankan Army. This is my reference for my research. I have gone through the books and journals and websites and the interview of soldiers who have already left the army. With that, I have completed my presentation. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you, Major Bangara. I'd like to summarize this research. I found three summary. First, it was one that leadership style had no significant effect on soldiers and over intention of the Sri Lanka Army. Second one, it's a commitment of military leadership. And the last one, there are specific areas that needed to be developed military. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we are moving to the second presenter. I would like to give a chance to Major Dimutu Abewardana to present his research about learning style of military learners. Before that, I would like to read the series. Major Dimutu Abewardana is recently reading for a master's degree in Defense and Studies and as a student officer at Defense Service Command and Staff College. He obtained his first degree in Mechanical Engineering from General Sir John Kotelawala Defense University. He has obtained a diploma in Wheeled Armored Vehicle Engineering from Academy of Armored Force Engineering in the People's Republic of China. He also possesses a master's degree in Business Administration in e-governance from Kotelawala Defense University. His research interests include e-learning, military learning, and e-governance. Quite a for Major Abewardana, please take the time and present your presentation.
Respected Chairperson, distinguished faculty, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am going to present you a survey which is conducted as part of my master's research, which is ongoing research, which is doing as part of my staff college master degree. Coming on to the background, this research actually, this survey was done to fulfill first three objectives of my research, and coming on to the main research, it is to develop a new model to facilitate AI-based e-learning system. Where now I hope the intellectual audience would know what is maybe the Moodle or website which is used for e-learning. So when we talk about e-learning, generally the traditional teacher, he has access to guide the student based on his behaviors, but when it comes to the modules, most of the modules, sometimes the interactiveness is not there. So when they are developing, commercially they have developed these systems to cater for their commercial needs, but not the student perspective. There is a little gap because when the students' behaviors are changing, the teacher, maybe sometimes in future automated teachers will be there, so they cannot control the student and they cannot identify what are the changing behaviors. So there now my focus is to develop a model to be suited for the entire e-learning domain. But in here, I have focused into military because of the time frame. And then next, with that short preamble, you can see the aim of my research. Coming on to the methodology, I have used a descriptive cross-sectional survey to fulfill those two objectives, and setting actually staff college and KDU, the first year undergraduates of KDU and the master's students of the Defence Services Command and Staff College, Sri Lanka. And there the staff college 140 students out of 144, and from the KDU 208 students out of 208, I got 181 students. And other than that, I have used the tool as Honey and Mumford Learning Styles questionnaire, which contains 80 questions. That is more kind of a general questionnaire which is not biased to any of the fields. So that questionnaire straight away used to check the learning styles of each and individual learner. This Honey and Mumford learning style has 4 major pillars: the learning styles, activist, pragmatist, reflector, and theorist. Activists, of course, the activist learner, they like to interact, they like to work in groups and maybe discussions, practical work-based learning. And then pragmatists, they are kind of shortcut people. They try to use maybe models, try to find shortcuts to learn. And then coming on to reflectors, they would like to learn a little and to go out, have a rest, and again learn little, such kind of people. And then finally, theorists, they always need some handout, some books, like they prefer and they learn. Those are the 4 major learning styles which we can find. Then the result shows, initially the response rate, you can see 89% were improved from the staff college students, which is the postgraduates, and then 87% from the KDU first year students. This is the findings. The results, they are the first year, almost they are like just inducted to the services. They have almost a similar distribution of learning styles. 24, 27, 25, 24 again. So almost similar distribution, and this is the peculiarity of these findings. The 78% of the master students, those who are having about 10 to 12 years of service in the Army, Navy and Air Force, they show like 78% of activist learning type. And other 3 learning styles only 9%, 7% and the 6% very, very small. So the domination is for the activist learning type. So coming on to discussion, these same results, same kind of results have been obtained with related to the undergraduate students from one research conducted by Angelo in 2011. According to his research, he also had the same results. And then 2014 to see that research, he had found totally different kind of results. Where the master's engineering, from the master's engineering students, there's no any domination over any learning style. Next, based on one Sri Lankan study which was conducted in 2013 by Samarakon and the group. So they also found some unimodal and multimodal, where their conclusion, like in the unimodal they found from the undergraduates they have number of learning styles, and postgraduates again one style dominating, such kind of finding. So coming on to the conclusion, in my research, as I found the activist learning style is dominated in the military domain, where the postgraduate among the postgraduate students. So that is kind of, if we get the real literature and analyze, there's no much literature to prove this is the reason, or any hard and fast reason we cannot find. So it is time for, maybe it will take some time to research into this military domain and to see what is the reason for that. So maybe with the service influence or some other reason, they would have gone to a particular learning style. So next, with that, I have two recommendations for further research to go for new learning model, which is my original research. With that, to go for a new model for e-learning, to facilitate the e-learning, and also to adjust the present teaching and learning methods in order to suit for the changing nature of the e-learning. Because one person, when we start from as a civilian undergraduate, the distribution was quite similar, and time to come we changes his learning style. So that changing behavior we need to consider, and to cater for those changing behaviors in order to get the better results. These are the references, some of the important references which I have used for my research. And last but not least, I would like to mention the people who have supported and advised to successfully complete my survey. That's all. And the questions and your much valued comments on my research would be very much important to complete the entire ongoing research.
Thank you very much, Major Dewarden. So I'll try to summarize this presentation. I got 2 points. First is understanding learning style of military student is an important issue in order to improve the effectiveness of student learning in military setting. And the second one, I thought that 78% of master level students show the activities. Okay, now we are moving to presentation number 3. Major establishment. So before I would like to read the recipe. Major establishment. Presentation about an exploratory study on the recruitment process of officer cadets. A review of literature with special reference to Nepal and Sri Lanka. Major Sarat Thapa is currently working toward a master degree in defense and studying studies from Defense Services Command and Staff College, affiliated to General Sir John Lawala Defense University. He is pursuing a second staff course in Sri Lanka. He is a graduate in the Bachelor of Computer Application of BCA from Purbalkhand University, Nepal, and a postgraduate in a Master of Science in Information Technology from Sikkim Manipal University, India. He is also a postgraduate in Master of Art in Strategic Studies from Tribhuvan University, Nepal. His research interests include strategic, security, international relations, cybersecurity, and programming. Last but not least, he just came back from Indonesia and visited my country. So thank you. So for Mr. Tapa, please come.
Honorable Chair, ladies and gentlemen, greetings to all, namaste. First of all, I would like to thank KDU for giving me this opportunity. Today I am going to talk about the review of literature on the topic fast. The presentation is based on the review of literatures and does not state official views of my army, Nepali Army, DSSC or Sri Lankan Armed Forces. The study is primarily focused on the limiting factors on recruitment of officer cadets to see relationship between limiting factors affecting on recruitment process and compare between recruitment process among contemporary militaries. Research questions are centered around limiting factors and their relationships. Ladies and gentlemen, let me go to the review in proper. According to Alison E. Barber, I quote, recruitment includes those practices and activities carried on by the organization with the primary purpose of identifying and attracting potential employees. For Bratton and Gold, recruitment is the process of attracting the interest of a pool of capable people who will apply for jobs within an organization. Prakash and Smitha categorize recruitment based on the authority to conduct as centralized and decentralized. Levy and Watt, while presenting a recruitment and selection process model in 2014, put forth 11 sequential steps for recruitment itself and 8 sequential steps for selection process. What I found during my review is Nepal and Sri Lanka both are only following largely selection process only. A generic model of recruitment is given by Shears and Syed in 2009 while presenting a technical course and researching paper. Shears and Syed looked at 3 variables as flashed in the slide in that picture: organization variable, individual level variables, and outcome. Now let's look at the demographic factors. Attitudes, aptitudes, and aspirations of American youth, implications for military recruitment. A book by Anne Maver and Paul Sackett put 2 demographic variables: young adult demographic and child demographic. The increasing problem of obesity and asthma makes youth unfit for military recruitment. The study also found that propensity to enlist in military service has been decreasing. The study further suggested to increase involvement in educating youths, advertise focusing military as a service and service-specific advertisements, and selection and training of recruiters. George Quester in 2005 found that there are fields like increasing the service age to motivate the military officers, as well as foreign recruitments is a possibility due to brain drain. And economy, if economy doesn't do well, there is increment in recruitment and vice versa. And war and demographic changes has also some big impact on recruitment. Dennis Costello highlighted 5 demographic and socio-economic changes. First, the aging population. Second, the obesity and lack of fitness. Third, declination to serve. Fourth, the rising cost of militaries. And fifth, the growing trend of high-tech militaries, thus reduce the personnel casualties. Ethnicity is another important factor affecting recruitment, as put forth by Ortiz and us in 2001. The author of Oxford Handbook of Recruitment says there is a positive relationship between demographic characteristics of the recruiter on recruitment. Similarly, race, gender, personality, and knowledge of recruiter is more profound in minority candidates than other candidates, as put forth by Joseph, Hui, and Aparna Joshi. Clapham in 2006 said that there are 3 areas influencing on military enlistment: education goals, institutional presence of the military in communities, and race and economic status. Similarly, J. Amber Phillips in 2015 found that the child raised by absentee mothers are more likely to join military. Some of the legal factors: Lovewood Leonard Lowell found that throughout the history, the legal process of recruiting officer cadets has been changing, particularly post-wars. In a similar study, Wolstein and Passmore found that the duration is a factor which is linked to recruitment process. Similarly, Sorensen found that in Canada, the delays within recruitment process, file handling, the duration between recruitment process, the duration between each phase of the training, and selection, these are affecting selection, recruitment, and retention. A study found done in my own country by Ted Badodong found that the police of including certain tasks in armed forces creates a social exclusion in armed forces. Operational factors, type of organization, name and brand of organization is affecting recruitment. Similarly, the hardship of military, stress, reluctance to suffer casualties are also affecting. And in one of the studies conducted in Australian Army found that organizational culture is affecting the recruitment as well. Job satisfaction is related to motivation, social interaction. In similar study done by Sumera and X, both intrinsic and extrinsic factors are related to the recruitment. A study conducted by Fez and Novas found that geographic location, the recruitment, presence of militaries are also affecting recruitment. Similarly, among 10 companies, a survey was done, a study was done by Alice Ginyamba in 2014, and she found out 12 factors are affecting, and nepotism and favoritism is one of those factors. And then last factor is Michael Armstrong found that attracting candidates is crucial for recruitment. Attraction should target both internal and external candidates. Rines and Barber said that the long scripted method followed by armed forces must be changed in order to have good recruitment and attract more quality candidates. Gregor, Richter, and Noble Anand in their work found out that the forces should pursue methods of attraction like advertisement and listed in slides for the recruitment. Both tangible and intangible factors affect recruitment, and choice of an organization is dependent on both the recruitment. So these are my findings and conclusion. All these factors, as I have already highlighted, have a bearing on recruitment process. So this needs to be a topic of research, and hence my ongoing research is targeted on this. So these are my references. Total 66 references are there. And I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. And I would like to have good discussion during the course session. Thank you.
Summary of this presentation. Right now, I found three. First is recruitment of officer corps in South Asian countries has declined. And then this research about Nepal and Sri Lanka face unconventional security threat, but number of recruitment are declining consistently. And the last one, placement of candidates should be done according to the requirement procedures on their skill. Okay, let's moving to the last presentation. I would like to time to Major Warwa Ngodage. Sorry, my pronunciation is very good. So with that, I would like to brief the CV. Major Ike Warwa Ngodage, RWP, RSP, RSC, joined the regular force of the Sri Lanka Army as an officer cadet on 21st February 2001. Having completed the military training at Sri Lanka Military Academy, Liyata Lawa, and he was commissioned as the second lieutenant of Sri Lanka Army on the 23rd February 2002. He has been completed 18 years of dedicated service in Light Bureau Force of the Sri Lanka Army. He is qualified with a postgraduate degree in Business Administration from Rajarata University and currently following Master of Business Administration at KDU. Pemeja Waruwa Godaki, the time.
Chairperson, distinguished guest, ladies and gentlemen. Next 10 minutes, I am going to present a literature review on my ongoing research. First, I would like to tell about my study. My topic is developing life coping skill among both leg amputated, elderly, or veterans, different able war heroes in the Sri Lanka Army as a case study. And objective is, primary objective, how life coping skill help for both leg amputated war veterans to become different able war heroes in Sri Lanka Army. These are my research objectives and research questions. First, identification of most suitable life coping strategies for amputated war veterans. Second, identification of most critical issues and difficult faced by amputated war veterans. Identify the importance of differential able war heroes in the Sri Lanka. My research questions: how life coping skill help for both leg amputated war veterans to become differential able war heroes in Sri Lanka Army. In specific research questions, what are the most suitable life coping skills for amputated war veterans in Sri Lanka? What are the difficulties and issues faced by amputated war veterans in Sri Lanka? Are life coping skills contributed to mitigate social problem of war veterans? This is the data collection method I have planned to use. The study was planned to use both primary and secondary data, and the primary data will be collected using structured discussion guide following the qualitative approach by utilizing the military website, newspapers, articles regarding differential war heroes and disabled veterans, military past records, previous studies, website, books, article and other related publications, and secondary data will be collected. I am going to make sample as follows. My sample is the study is based on the amputated army veterans, Sri Lanka. The study is focusing on selecting 20 respondents out of the population that are both leg amputated. The plan is to randomly select the sample out of the population, and those will select from Polonnaruwa and Anuradhapura district. Also, it is planned to use simple random sampling technique to select the matching sample for the research study. Ladies and gentlemen, let me go to review in my improper way. The ethnic conflict ended up with loss of thousands of lives, displaced thousands of families, and severely damaged the economy and infrastructure. When considered the Sri Lankan armed forces during the war on terrorism, more than 3 decades, as many as 19,000 of the armed forces sacrificed their lives, while some 82,000 of the war heroes rendered injured, and among them 21,000 were disabled and veterans. It is well documented that stresses which are associated with disabling may challenge the individual's ability to maintain emotional well-being, and in some instances may promote maladaptive reaction leading to poor psychosocial adjustment. Disability can cause a variety of physical and psychosocial challenges, including alteration in body image and lifestyle, change in self-concept, impairment in physical functioning, using prostheses, and feeling pain. Furthermore, the well-being of disabled should be considered as the main goal of rehabilitation rather than biomechanical or physiological factor. We can consider quality of life as an umbrella, covering all aspects of medical service that is presented to a disabled. The concept of quality of life extends beyond traditional symptoms to include patients subject to well-being, satisfaction, functioning, and impairments. The impact of such pain exposure increases the impact of secondary stressors such as family conflict and negative events, leading to increased mental health problems. Significance of this study: development of life coping skill among amputated elderly war veterans will develop them to live more independent and socially active lifestyle and build their confidence levels to face the challenge in life. So the authorized bodies can have better understanding of this situation and they can take necessary action to increase the life coping skill among amputated war veterans. In addition to that, the future researchers can get information for the research studies. Problem statement: the amputation of war veterans with a multitude of involving physical and psychosocial challenges such as impairment in physical functioning, prosthesis use, pain, change in employment status or occupation, and alteration in body image and self-concept. Such stresses challenge the individual's ability to maintain emotional well-being and engender maladaptive reaction leading to poor psychosocial adjustment. Therefore, the potential to promote favorable coping strategies represent a key pathway towards prevention of adjustment problems. Nonetheless, there is yet no clear consensus with regard to which coping strategies or modes of coping are most effective in resolving difficulties, alleviating emotional distress, and mitigate future problems. When analyzing the fact, most of the war veterans face social problems related to their family life. Most of the amputated veterans are unmarried, divorced, or else they do not have children. Therefore, the research study hopes to evaluate the successfulness of life coping skill to mitigate these problems. Life coping skills are ways in which people learn to deal with certain stressful situations or circumstances, unknown 2018. He further stated that every person is coping with different stress and over the time. They learn to deal with certain stressful scenario. On the other hand, people, those who pass it through the stressful situation are not only suffering by themselves, but people, those who around them also suffer due to emotional attachment. Therefore, develop coping skill is essential under a stressful situation. According to the freedictionary.com 2018, coping skill is any behavior or characteristic that is relevant to person's adaptation. It further detailed that coping skill include religious belief system, solving problems, social skills, health and energy, and commitment toward social network. Disability can be defined as the fixed condition or present illness that person is suffering from, which cannot be changed. Smith 2009. However, this is 2018. This case study argued that this can be debatable due to the technological advancement and upgrade of medical sector. Therefore, disability can define more effectively an impairment that affect person negatively to perform or function as others. United Nations 2006 has given a much broader definition and stated that those who have impairment in physical, intellectual or sensory element which lead to various barriers and may hold back them from the society or socialization. When conducting the literature, it was found that there are various issues, challenges that are faced by the disabled, differently able war heroes. One of the studies emphasizes that even though the person is disabled or not, returning home from veteran itself also develop complications in families. Severe injuries which lead the soldiers to become disabled veterans, differently able will cause both physical and psychological complications. because with the disability blocks the soldiers experiences their active and energetic behavior. Hence they often suffered with board work. According to Seal, Bretter, Minor Set and Marmer 2007, due to injuries and physical impairment, the disabled war heroes were suffering from depression as well. According to McNutt 2005, another problem faced by the disabled war heroes were the career disruption and financial problem. This will also make complications in their lives. As per the statement made by Simba 2015, disabled people also have the same health need as non-disabled people. Due to poverty and social exclusion, they may have much narrow margin in health. Factors developing skills among disabled war heroes: physical stress, family-related issues, health-related issues, and cultural issues and social issues. Development life community skill under psychological stress can identify these factors: awareness of self, your environment, belief and attitudes, ability to cope with stress, decision-making skills, social engagement and interaction with others. Development life community skill under family-related issues. With the injuries the war heroes has to face on the battlefield, majority of them have to retain with life-lasting scars and have to continue their lives as disabled or differently able. In this situation is not only an impact for the life of the particular injured soldier, but also huge impact for his family as well. Following aspects also were being able to identify as the essential aspect in handling the stress: friendship, nutrition and health. To conclude, how we develop the coping skill under health-related issues. It is identified that there are mainly few areas that the focus can be given under health when analyzing the literature. Physical health, psychological health, social health, and spiritual health can be enhanced. To conclude the presentation, every war ended up with loss of life, leaving considerable number of people, soldiers, is disabled. Most of the soldiers who were being rendered disabled are young. The medical treatment and the rehabilitation of these injured soldiers are not that systematic at the beginning, and therefore authorized concern were complicated to being the systematic mechanism to address the need. Development of life coping skill among amputated, elderly, or veterans enhance the ability of the disabled soldiers and enable to generate different able war heroes to the country. These are the references I have followed for my research. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Major. I'd like to summarize this presentation. There are three summary I think I'd like to deliver. One is every person copes with different stress level. Second one, to develop coping skill is essential under a stressful situation. And the last one, coping skill is a method a particular person uses to manage a stressful situation. That's all for presenter. Now I'm open to question and answer. First session, I think I request the person to ask the question. Please. Question? From my left, question?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sorry, yes.
My question goes to Captain Dimutu about the research on this fourth element of this evaluation process of the model. It looks very interesting, and you know, as I see it, you are trying to bring the human element to the AI learning model system. But how you are going to evaluate this? How you are going to quantify this new axis that you are talking about, and how are you going, what is your methodology of doing that?
The small clarification, you are referring to my main research in the fourth axis, the new module. Thank you very much for your question, sir. The fourth dimension, like mainly we have three dimensions: technology, environment, and learning theories, or learning and cognition theories. Apart from that, I already found relationship between those three and the personal attributes, like the knowledge, then IT knowledge, then English knowledge. Other than that, his maybe family support, attitudes, all these personal attributes superimpose the other three axes. So that fourth axis mainly with those personal attributes which have interconnected with all three axes which are available in the literature. But this fourth axis have not come into play because that fourth axis is being integrated by the teacher in the traditional classroom. But now here, when we are going for e-learning, that teacher's aspects, I mean his contribution, most of the time it is going little by little fading away. So that has to be taken into consideration. That is my argument. So those personal attributes to taken into artificial intelligence space, where when the student is in the classroom, his behaviors and from the beginning his learning style should be identified real time. When it is changing, that learning style should be identified accordingly. That has to be identified with the artificial intelligence system. Otherwise, nobody to monitor. So when we monitor it, then we can mitigate those problems by the system. Because maybe there will be a time when you are learning, you will get through the artificial intelligence, you get a lot of messages. The student get messages to do this, do that kind of instructions because of his learning behavior, and he will get according to his changing style, he will get different maybe learning materials. If your learning style suits to, maybe you would like to have videos, he will first show you the videos. And if you would like to have some theory based, like the lecture notes, he will first prioritize the lecture notes for you to study. Such kind of environment I'm envisioning. That's all.
Thank you. Is there any question? Please.
The relationship is foundation. So my question is to Major Bandar. The relationship is foundation for any leadership style. Whatever the leadership style, what is most important is to establish relationship with your subordinates and others. But in the army we follow the chain of command. So with the chain of command, how you establish relationship with others to overcome the problems which you mentioned?
Thank you very much for asking question, sir. In the military, sir, when we are going to make the relationship between the soldiers and officers, in the civil setup, we have identified that given that democratic leadership styles and laissez-faire leadership styles also going. In the military, sir, I have mostly concern of transactional leadership and transformational leadership, because both is ongoing with our military scenario. Because in the military, if you are in the war, we have to have whatever we are asking for the soldiers, but we have done it by force, or unwillingly we have to get it that from our requirement. In that, That is why I am discussing about only 2 leadership styles in my research. Out of that, 5 leadership styles.
Any more?
Good evening. I am Brigadier Pai Rajpaksha.
Yes, sir.
Commander General. My question goes to Major Bhagwan. Actually, especially I appreciate his research. He has some sort of a very people that is more veterans. Actually, the question just like this, he has selected the people from because as a commandant in my capacity, I have a chance to go to these places, all Abhiman Salar, and I talk to each and every war veterans who are living there, having injured and all that. So with that, there are many soldiers. They have good family life actually. They have babies and all. But now, after 2009, it is almost for 10 years. Now the situation has changed, and the value of these war heroes has gone down basically because of their snow and this time has risen. Or considering all this, have you considered that? Because when we look at these war heroes, the present day, the value when the previously, how we look after them and now how we look after them and how we look at them. So that also affected for this because when they are morale and all that. So have you considered that, and have you visited those places and any consideration taken from that line? That is my question.
Thank you very much, sir, for the questions. Yes, sir, I already visited the treat that soldiers who are injured, and mainly I considered about the both leg amputations. And in their elderly life, after completing 45 years, they cannot do anything in their self. And also in that time, they don't have any support from their family members as well as the neighbors also. That's why I make sample from the Colonaro and Andaru district. And also when I talk with them, as you said, sir, now they feel they don't have any covers. That means they don't getting any facilities, and they are now reducing the facilities they are getting, and also not only the facilities, and other thing is their goodwill also they are reduced from the social. That's why I selected for this sample, and especially from the Colonaro and Andaru district. Yes, sir. They like to be. The members who are living with the family, they also like to be with the wellness resort which we are introduced from Sri Lanka Army. But the family members, they don't like to away from this soldier. They are actually they are recognized. They are thankful the army. Those who are making this special wellness resort, but even in a rural area, they cannot be with the one place without their family. They don't like to be with the wellness resort without their family. That's the problem they are facing.
Just in time. Any more questions? No more? Okay. Just one. Professor, you want to ask a question? Okay, then let's try to to conclude our discussion here, I think the main point is we are discussing the main element of this human or person or person. So the main key, even though the presenter 1, 2, 3, 4 talking about leadership style, recruitment, or managing a soldier, but behind of this, I think personal or person is the main key. I tried to quote from Alexander the Great. He was talking about leadership only. It said, I am not afraid of a lion army led by a sheep, but I am afraid of a sheep army led by a lion. So the moral took from that quote is, so the main thing is leader. Leader is the one who can show direction to anyone. That's a point I think for all this. Well, thank you for Fanis for your excellent presentation, and I would like to thank the committee for arranging a good discussion and session. And once again, thank you for Aiden for being patient to listen, to listen to the presentation and to discuss with us. Once again, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the end of the technical session 3, which explored an array of civil-military relations from different perspectives. We are thankful to the presenters for sharing their knowledge with us. And to give away the certificates to the presenters of the session, I have the honor of inviting Professor Amal Jayawardena. EMMD Bandara, AABEP Abhevardhana, Estapa, PK Varunuwagodage, we are also grateful for the participation of the chairperson, Air Vice Marshal Dr. Tatan Kastana, and we shall now present a token of appreciation to the chairperson. And now I invite Air Vice Marshal Tatan Kastana to present his memento to General Sir John Kotlal Defence University. To accept it, I invite Professor Amal Jayawardena. Thank you, sir. And with that, we conclude this session and we cordially invite you all for the refreshments. All VIP and VVIP guests will be served at the first floor and all others will be served at the third floor. After that, the